Hello, I'm GhostX, and today I've got another Call of Duty 2016 video for you guys. So this is my last Call of Duty 2016 video for you until sort of early May next year, when we can sort of expect a reveal trailer and a sort of a teasers leading up to the reveal of the next Call of Duty game by Infinity Ward. So we already know Treyarch is making Black Ops 3 for the end of this year. So basically this short little series for the moment is to see what Infinity Ward might be doing next year, which is something we haven't really thought about. We've been sort of been looking at the Black Ops 3 news all of the time because of all the news that's been flooding through with the zombies at the moment, the multiplayer information. We're getting a lot of news and information for Black Ops 3, but we haven't really looked ahead. It's distracted us a lot from what we might get next year. So we know that Infinity Ward are making next year's Call of Duty. That's pretty much confirmed. We know there is a Call of Duty coming next year. That is pretty much confirmed as well. But we don't know what it is. So basically I have this mini series, and if you've missed any of my previous episodes, I've done 3 previous episodes covering a possible Modern Warfare 4, a Ghosts 2, and a Modern Warfare Remastered collection. All those videos tie into those individual different ideas, what could happen in those different games if they weren't possibly made. So I did a full video on all of them for you guys. If you want to see them, they're in the link in the description. There's links for each of them in the description, and there's a link to the playlist if you want to watch all those videos in order. So let's get straight into this. You probably saw in the title and in the opening there that I've named this Call of Duty 13, or in the Roman numerals XIII. Now the reason I've done this is because we don't know what, like, if they do go ahead and make a new IP. So this idea here is assuming that they don't go for a Modern Warfare 4, they don't go for a Ghost 2, and they don't go for a Modern Warfare Remaster or a remaster of any kind. This is the idea that they're going to make a new IP, a new game, a new sub-franchise. They're going to move away from Ghosts, move away from the Modern Warfare sub-franchise and keep that as a trilogy, and they're going to move away from any other possible remaster or anything they could do and make something completely new. That is what this idea is. So I'm calling it Call of Duty 13 because there's nothing really we can pinpoint a sort of name. We can't like specifically say a name of the game, and that is why that is done there. This will be the 13th main installment in the Call of Duty franchise no matter what, which is why I've called it Call of Duty 13. So let's sort of think of a few ideas here that they could possibly go for. Now there are quite a few. Now first of all, there's something I mentioned in my Ghost 2 video, I believe, and that was that a lot of people were disappointed with the fact that Treyarch did not go with a historical warfare game this year, and they went even further into the future than Advanced Warfare or Black Ops 2 with their new game set in the distant future, the 2060s. So something a lot of people wanted to see this year with Treyarch is another World War II Call of Duty game, possibly a World War II or something along those lines. Now a lot of people, they instantly recognize Treyarch as a World War or World War II producer, and the reason for that is because they made the last World War II game in Call of Duty history, and they also made the most historical warfare Call of Duty games. Now something we also need to remember that a lot of people are forgetting, and this is something that is worth keeping in mind, is that not only did Infinity Ward create the Call of Duty franchise, but if you remember, they created it in World War II. The first two Call of Duties, Call of Duty and Call of Duty 2, that also includes Call of Duty Classic, were made by Infinity Ward, and they were both set in World War II. So Infinity Ward have had their fair share of historical warfare games, specifically World War II, so there's no reason why they couldn't go back to that. With the high demand there is for a World War II game, we can't see a World War II happening because that pretty much was Call of Duty Black Ops anyway. It was a sequel to World War, or you could see World War as a prologue to the Black Ops trilogy. But yeah, that is something that people keep forgetting, is that Infinity Ward could definitely go to World War II. So that's something we need to bear in mind as well. That's a possibility that we may get a World War II game next year. Now, I wouldn't get your hopes up. This is unlikely because Infinity Ward for a while now have had their heart set on the Modern Warfare kind of genre and setting, and they haven't really moved away from that since Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which is when the Call of Duty franchise first came out of World War II and stepped into Modern Warfare for the first time. Now, we're going to look at some other things as well, not just World War II. We're going to base this around historical warfare because it's something that we haven't seen in a while. It's definitely a possibility, and it's something that would make a change, and this is what would really sell. At the end of the day, they are a company. It is all about numbers. They need to make them numbers and sell lots of copies, and if they keep rehashing the same thing over and over again, you know, Ghost 2, Modern Warfare 4, they could go on forever. They could make Modern Warfare 10, Ghost 6, it doesn't matter what it is. They could keep on going, and it's just going to lose sales eventually because for a start, Ghost didn't sell very well. Now, I enjoyed Ghost, and I'd be happy with the Ghost too, but for most people, and the majority in the community, they don't want to see that. And a Modern Warfare 4 would sell because it's a Modern Warfare game, but at the same time, that would be the 4th installment in Modern Warfare. According to the Modern Warfare 3 campaign, that's not going to make a lot of sense considering most of the characters, both protagonists and antagonists, are all dead, which is not going to work very well. They'd have to make a ton of new characters, which is what Ghost did, and it didn't receive a lot of good reception for doing that, which is something to bear in mind as well. And as for the Modern Warfare collection, let's remember that that is very unlikely. It's a possibility, but I think that's unlikely. That's more likely to be done by a third-party studio, and by that I mean some like High Moon Studios, as something to release alongside a main release. I wouldn't say a main release would be a remaster. That's just my opinion on that. But anyway, we're going to look towards more the historical warfare side of things, hence the Roman numerals that I put in the title and the opening. So let's have a look at some other settings and themes that Call of Duty has yet to sort of visit. So one of them I was thinking about is the American Civil War. Now this is kind of a little bit like, you know, I wouldn't say Red Dead Redemption, that was a different kind of time period, but it's similar. Now this would make a good Call of Duty game, and I really do see potential for this setting. Now, if you remember the American Civil War, this is where the technology on the battlefield became a little bit better than what they've been used to fighting with muskets, you know, muzzle-loading firearms, blunderbusses, flintlocks, matchlocks, wheel locks, doesn't matter. They were all single-shot weapons, and this is where this was a time period where it really stepped out of that, and we started to see lever-action weapons, bolt-action weapons, semi-automatic weapons, revolvers. The list goes on. There is a ton of variety in weapon choice that could be implemented into an American Civil War based Call of Duty game. Now, it does also make sense. There's sort of a time period in the setting. It's kind of cool, you know. It's something that fits Call of Duty's style. I think it could work. There's no reason why it couldn't. And all of the features that we're used to in modern Call of Duty could be implemented. I mean, if we wanted to see supply drops, I don't see why they couldn't do that. That could happen. They could have rarities. They could have, I wouldn't say weapon variants, maybe they wouldn't do that, but you could have gear sets. There were lots of different sort of uniforms they wore in the American Civil War, and a lot of civilians participated as well. Maybe participated is the wrong sort of word considering it was a bloodbath, but at the same time they did take part in that sort of war just to fight their sort of homeland. But yeah, I would see that as a good setting to do that in, and the weapon choice is really cool for that. And I think things like the gunsmith could be involved as well. Maybe not so much the paint shop, but I suppose there could be camos. I mean, that's also another thing that could be pretty cool. But I assume that to be more textures than camos. Things like gold, platinum, stuff like that, silver, bronze, engravings, stuff like that. That would be pretty cool. Something that could be involved and would make a lot of sense for the setting. Other sort of settings we haven't seen, World War I. Now, a lot of people say at the same time, the same with, you know, that kind of past warfare kind of thing, is that there's going to be a lacking variety of weapons, and there's certainly not going to be. You just got to look hard enough into the history and see what kind of weaponry were used at that time. Now, in World War I, it was primarily bolt-action rifles. This is where the lever-action rifles started to sort of dissipate in a way. Revolvers were still heavily in use, but semi-automatic pistols started to become more heavily used instead of revolvers. Cavalry, you know, horses and stuff like that became more used, which would be cool to have that implemented into multiplayer somehow. I don't think that would work. That'd be more of a score streak maybe, or kill streak reward. Machine guns were mostly mounted, but they could obviously be ripped off and then used in that way. Tanks started to make their way onto the battlefield. There were a lot of things used in World War I. A lot of people forget about the trench warfare aspect as well, which would make a cool design for maps. I'd like to see that implemented with the 3-lane map design, if that could be possibly done. But there's a lot of things that could be done for a new IP. Now, this is something that a lot of people probably think in Infinite Ward are never going to step out of Modern Warfare, but it's a possibility, and it's something that we really have to think about. But if we do look in the Modern Warfare sort of era, I reckon if they're going to make another modern game, it's going to be Modern Warfare 4 or a remaster. If they're going to make another near future based game, it's going to be a Ghost game. That's just the way I see it. Now, if they do step out of that and go into the distant future, like the Black Ops sub-franchise has done, I think that's going to receive a lot of bad and negative sort of you know, sort of attention from that. And the reason I believe that is because we've had so many near future and distant future Call of Duty games that it's just going to get hated for it. I mean, it's just an easy target to take, you know, cheap shots at. But if they do something that's more inventive, something maybe they could play with history. Maybe they could take a twist on it, like steampunk or diesel punk, like we saw in Origins in Black Ops 2 Zombies. Something creative, you know, something different. That's something that the community really want. Now, a lot of people obviously will say that, you know, they don't want change, they want things to stay the same, they want classic Call of Duty, but you just can't keep rehashing it. Will get old, people will complain. More people will complain if it's too similar than people will complain about change, as long as change is done right. Now, if you change too much and it feels like it's not Call of Duty anymore, i.e. sort of Advanced Warfare, the movements sort of moved away from the core mechanics of Call of Duty, then obviously that got a lot of hate, and it's easy to hate on something like that. But if they just do something completely different, like, you know, think of an American Civil War based Call of Duty game, or a World War I based Call of Duty game, how cool that would be, and what opportunities that opens up for maybe a third mode. Maybe not Extinction, I don't think that makes much sense in that kind of time period, or it could do if it was done differently, or completely something new, maybe a different type of zombies like mutants or something, I don't know. There could be so much done here. It's just worth thinking about that, guys. So I'd like to get your sort of thoughts on this, guys. Leave your comments about what you think about all this and what you would like to see. And also, one last thing before I go, I have an official app on the Apple App Store. If you have an Apple device, you can download that for free. It's really cool, so I would definitely advise you to download that if you get the chance. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Ghost X out.